still got it. Finally, we'll meet and settle this personal difference because they got a deep-seated, ingrained personal hostility toward each other.
You got nothing coming, man. You got nothing.
I think it is fascinating that his camp feels that they need to pump Mike Tyson up with lies to get him up for this fight.
Mike don't need no pumping up.
I'm gonna like this. I'm gonna have a good time this fight.
I look forward to this fight. One never knows how good they are until they fight the best.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Albert, and welcome to Inside Tyson versus Holyfield. Often in boxing, fights of magnitude are given dramatic names filled with alliteration, verbose rhetoric, and internal rhymes. But when Mike Tyson takes on Evander Holyfield for the WBA Heavyweight Championship, the bout has been awarded the most succinct, most uncomplicated of names. For this bout is simply and aptly entitled Finally. For finally, the two most successful, most respected heavyweights of their generation will meet. For finally, Tyson will face a fighter renowned for his skill, courage, and willingness to brawl. For finally, an angry Tyson will have the opportunity to settle a personal score against his longtime rival. And finally, for the first time in boxing history, every reigning heavyweight champion will be defending his title. For IBF champion Michael Moorer will take on undefeated power puncher Francois Botha. And 6'7" unbeaten WBO title holder Henry Akinwande meets former Soviet champion and mandatory challenger Alexander Zolkin. During this half hour, we'll be looking at the personalities, strategies, and matchups of all the fights on this history-making night. But first, an exclusive conversation with the reclusive Mike Tyson.
He knows what he's gonna get. He's good. He's a great fighter and all that, but you out of your league, man.
One thing you gotta understand, you ain't no fear of me.
I'm gonna like this. I'm gonna have a good time this fight.
We're in the hurt business. Yeah, I want to hurt him. There's no doubt about it. You know what I mean? But if it happens in 30 seconds or 10 rounds, whatever it is, my objective is to hurt him.
Through his career, Mike Tyson has never been reluctant to express his disdain for his opposition.
I wanted him to remember this for a long time. I could have knocked him out in the 3rd round, but I wanted to do it very slowly.
Nor did he make a great effort to stifle his legendary rage.
Let him go. I'm just angry, period. I'm just angry at everybody. I'm angry at my pigeons because they don't fly high enough, maybe. I'm angry at my dog because he don't come when I call. Okay, I don't know.
But ironically, the one place where society condones and awards the physical expression of his inner rage is the one place where Tyson is without emotion. That place is, of course, the ring.
Everyone thinks that when I fight, I'm an angry man, but I'm never angry. That's when I'm at my most disciplined and coolest moment. And fighting, you have to be totally emotionless. You can't have feelings. Everything has to be swept from your mind. No emotions.
But as Tyson prepares to defend his WBA title, the question becomes, will he be able to control his emotions and curb his anger against a man he has actively disliked for almost 5 years, Evander Holyfield?
It's just that he's a part of, he's just, when I look at him, he's a part of all those people that just, they really don't, they really think the worst of me. As a person, that is, as a person, not necessarily a fighter.
His whole thing is trying to intimidate you. You can't intimidate somebody that's not intimidating. You're wasting time, a lot of effort and a lot of all the emotion, and it don't really mean nothing.
Big deal, big deal. I don't give a damn about what he says. You think I care about what him or anyone else says about me? I've been called things that he can't even pronounce. So what the hell do I care if someone's saying something to me?
It don't put no fear in my heart because there's no fear to get. And so the whole thing that it may backfire on him because it don't bother me.
As the bout between Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield draws closer, the animosity, name-calling, and long-simmering feud between the two fighters have become increasingly ugly. What started it, and how will it affect the action in the ring? We'll be examining that when we come back with more on Inside Tyson versus Holyfield.
No, I didn't say that, but, you know, it don't make no difference. They can pump anybody anything they want to say. I didn't say that. You see me say that?
You know, camera myself, and I will go back and I will find it.
We'll find
yeah,
it.
And now I read it too.
Really, it don't make a difference. We still got to fight. You know what I'm saying? We still got to
fight.
It's getting bad.
It's hard to imagine anyone who hits harder than Mike Tyson. For that reason, he is the most feared boxer in the world. He comes at you with either hand. It doesn't matter. Who wouldn't be afraid to fight him? Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company. Twice, he was heavyweight champion of the world. One of the best boxers of the decade. Afraid of no man. He'll fight anyone who wants to fight. That's why he'll fight Mike Tyson. That's why he's Evander Holyfield. Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company. Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. The two best fighters of the decade meet head-on. Michael Moorer battles Francois Botha and Henry Akinwande versus Alexander Zolkin. 3 heavyweight championships, plus female boxing sensation Christy Martin. Saturday, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Finally, you can see them all. Call your cable or satellite company. Twice, he was heavyweight champion of the world. One of the best boxers of the decade. Afraid of no man. He'll fight anyone who wants to fight. That's why he'll fight Mike Tyson. That's why he's Evander Holyfield. Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company.
Welcome back to Inside Tyson versus Holyfield. While macho posturing and ugly name-calling have become a predictable and often meaningless part of boxing's pre-fight ritual, it is safe to say that Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield are not the closest of friends. The animosity between the two fighters is made all the more surprising by the fact that Tyson and Holyfield were once friendly. When did they become friends? And why has their relationship dissolved into an ugly series of charges and countercharges? The answers begin over 12 years ago.
He was kind of a distant type guy. And I get, you know, a lot of people kind of poke fun at him and stuff like that. Because he was just different.
We ended up talking because then many people talk to me as much either. You know, I'm from Georgia and everybody kind of call me a little country boy.
At the trials for the 1984 Olympics, a shy 17-year-old Mike Tyson and a reserved Evander Holyfield were often ignored and ostracized by the more established amateur stars. Although competing in different weight classes, the two then friendly fighters once sparred against each other.
I don't think we even finished the round before the coach made us get out the ring.
They came close to doing some things that maybe that was not kosher at the time, but
as the time went on, we started swinging a little harder and a little harder until they just told us to get out the ring.
It was a strictly competitive type thing, trying to be the best you can that day.
While many from those Olympic trials went on to have glorious professional careers, none could match the success of the two men they spurned. For right after losing the trials, Tyson turned pro and became boxing's biggest star and the youngest to ever win the heavyweight title.
When I was coming up, I just wanted to win so bad, man. I didn't care what happened. You hit me with a 2x4, a bat, a gun, anything. I just wanted to win and get in there and inflict my little bit of pain on somebody.
And while Tyson was inflicting pain, Holyfield was having his own storybook career by first unifying the cruiserweight division and then becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion by knocking out Buster Douglas, the only man to beat Tyson. What a shot by Evander Holyfield, and down went Douglas. Along with the titles, Holyfield was forging a reputation and earning respect for his determination to win and willingness to go toe-to-toe with the biggest and toughest of opponents.
The only person that was able to hit me and I knew that I didn't have a right to hit back is my mom. You know, that's the only thing. That's the only person that ever hit me that I felt that I didn't have a right. Anybody else, they hit me, I need to hit them back.
Throughout this time, Tyson and Holyfield remained friendly.
They were always cordial, and so they've always had great respect for each other, and they never had no problem speaking.
Or problems negotiated. For in 1991, they agreed to meet for the undisputed heavyweight championship.
I was guaranteed $30 million at that time, and actually, the date that they canceled the fight was it one day before my birthday.
Shortly after the fight was canceled, Tyson was arrested in Indianapolis, and the relationship between the two fighters collapsed. For while Holyfield adamantly denies it, at least one newspaper reported he said he would not defend his title against a convicted rapist. Whether or not he said it, the alleged comment incensed the Tyson camp.
He was just only accused. He was never tried. He was never convicted. He was only going through the preliminary stuff. And during this time, and even when he did get convicted unjustly of this crime, Evander was out, you know, in the media, in the public, voicing his opinion. And his opinion was that, you know, that he would never fight a rapist.
I didn't convict the man. I didn't say what he was. All I said, you know, I can't make no decision. I said, but if he's convicted, he's going to jail. How can I fight him?
He said it, and everybody heard him, and there's people who still remember it to this day, and it was a very low thing to do.
I think you give so much attention to negative stuff, then you forget about the positive thing. And the positive thing is that this should be a great fight.
Evander Holyfield has always enjoyed a well-deserved reputation for his conditioning. But 2.5 years ago, he was diagnosed with a heart problem and retired from the sport. However, subsequent testing has proved that the original diagnosis was faulty and that he is medically fit to fight.
There is no fighter in the history of pugilism who has ever had the extensive medical testing, not even counting the extensive cardiac testing that this fighter has had. He has an absolutely normal heart, and the one thing I will guarantee you is, regardless of what happens in the fight, his heart will not play any role in the outcome.
Now the fight many thought would never happen is finally here. Tyson, famous for his intensity and power, against Holyfield, admired for his courage and determination.
I just want to show him that I'm the best fighter in the world. All this shit I hear about him, the toughest guy, the biggest heart, I don't buy that.
The point is that the whole world wants to see us, and for what reason they want to see it is because when you have two guys that you can bet your life that they come to fight, I'm saying, you know, that's worth seeing.
When Mike Tyson makes the first defense of his WBA title against longtime rival Evander Holyfield, he will be headlining an historic night in heavyweight boxing. We'll see why next on Inside Tyson versus Holyfield.
I'm the best man out there.
I'm scared.
Twice, he was heavyweight champion of the world. One of the best boxers of the decade. Afraid of no man. He'll fight anyone who wants to fight. That's why he'll fight Mike Tyson. That's why he's Evander Holyfield. Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company. It's hard to imagine anyone who hits harder than Mike Tyson. For that reason, he is the most feared boxer in the world. He comes at you with either hand. It doesn't matter. Who wouldn't be afraid to fight him? Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company. Mike Tyson Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. The two best fighters of the decade meet head-on. Michael Moorer battles Francois Botha and Henry Akinwande versus Alexander Zolkin. 3 heavyweight championships, plus female boxing sensation Christy Martin. Saturday, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Finally, you can see them all. Call your cable or satellite company. It's hard to imagine anyone who hits harder than Mike Tyson. For that reason, he is the most feared boxer in the world. He comes at you with either hand. It doesn't matter. Who wouldn't be afraid to fight him? Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company.
Welcome back to Inside Tyson versus Holyfield. When Mike Tyson defends his WBA title against Evander Holyfield, they will be headlining a unique night of boxing. Finally, for the first time in the history of the sweet science, all reigning heavyweight champions will be defending their titles on a single fight card. For with Tyson taking on Holyfield for the WBA championship and with the WBC title vacant, heavyweight champions from both the IBF and the WBO will be defending their titles. Putting his IBF belt on the line is the powerful and enigmatic Michael Moorer. After a prosperous career as the light heavyweight champion, the hard-hitting southpaw successfully banged his way through the ranks of the heavyweight division. And in the spring of 1994, he surprised the boxing world by upsetting heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield.
With Evander, winning the title off him that was the start of my career, I believe. Being in the division where there's a lot of tough guys.
But just 7 months later, after dominating the legendary George Foreman for 9 full rounds, Moorer made a fatal mistake.
The fight was self-explanatory. You know, I was doing good in the fight. I was winning the fight, and got like a day's goal and just got caught with that one punch. It was hard. I lost my titles. I didn't become weak-minded. I was sad, upset, you know, that I had lost. But then again, I rebounded and, you know, stayed strong to myself.
Putting the devastating defeat behind him, Moorer quickly rebounded, beating Axel Schulz in his native Germany for the vacant IBF title.
I wanted it. I wanted the title when I won off of Evander. I wanted this more. I wanted to be in that elite group of being a 2-time heavyweight champion.
Now, Moorer will face a fighter with whom he has had a strange and acrimonious history. South Africa's undefeated Francois Botha. In his first 5 years as a pro, Botha had won 35 fights and a reputation for his punching power. And 6 months before Moorer did it, Botha traveled to Germany to take on Axel Schulz for the IBF title.
The winner by split decision, Francois Botha.
But 1 month later, a loud and angry hearing was held accusing Botha of using illegal steroids. And while he claims he was taking medication prescribed by a doctor for an injured arm, he was stripped of his title.
My doctor's prescriptions for medication that I use, I don't look like a steroid user. You know, if you look at a guy that uses steroids, he's bulk up. I'm a small guy.
Now to regain the IBF title he lost in court, he must win it in the ring by beating Michael Moorer.
Michael Moorer got something that belonged to me, and I actually never lost it.
The man lost it. He was, as they say, convicted of, you know, taking steroids.
I see myself going in first, but I see myself going out last. You know, so I know I'm going to get my title back.
The man knows he can't beat me. He'll say anything and try anything to try and say he can win this fight. It will never happen.
And the third heavyweight title fight of the evening, defending his WBO title, is the tallest champion in the history of the sport, 6'7", undefeated Henry Akinwande. With an amazing 86-inch reach, the British-born Akinwande has jammed his way to the top of the division. But just 4 months ago, in the sweltering heat of the Palm Springs desert, he fought his first title fight. And there, in the third round, he stopped the highly touted Jeremy Williams with the most elementary but effective of combinations, the simple 1-2.
The punch that knocked him my way, you know, I didn't even realize that, I hit him that hard. I just wanted to throw something, because I saw the opportunity, and I said, damn, this is what I've been waiting for. I thought I was dreaming, I kept saying, God, don't let it be a dream. And that night, I was so glad, that all what I've been praying for in my life come true.
But Akinwande's dream victory was a nightmare for Alexander Zulkin, who was scheduled to be Akinwande's opponent that night. But a cut over his right eye forced him out of the fight.
He got feeling I'm supposed to be there and I'm supposed to fight with this guy, and I'm right here and they're there, And yeah, it's kind of hard.
The soft-spoken 6'5" former Soviet amateur champion has used his size, skill, and aggression to compile a 24-2 record. But now, in the Battle of the Giants, he faces his sternest test when he finally meets Akinwande in the ring.
It's my first world champion title, and all soldiers got dream have be like general, and in boxing too. The kids coming to gym, they start training, they probably got dream too.
Plus, leading off this historic fight card is Christy Martin, the 135-pound female fighting sensation who is rewriting boxing history. Born and raised in the coal country of Bluefield, West Virginia, Martin has fought her way into the hearts of fight fans everywhere with her speed, power, and killer instinct.
I think the boxing people, they enjoy my style and they appreciate my hard work. They like to see someone go out there to try to land bombs, make the fight a brawl.
Coming up, final words and parting shots from the two longtime rivals, Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. Next on Inside Tyson versus Holyfield.
Listen, I read the paper. He know what he said. Everyone knows what he said. If he's not man enough to say it, then that's on him. Like he said, we got to fight anyway. So if you're mad, you're already in the fight. So we have to fight.
It's hard to imagine anyone who hits harder than Mike Tyson. For that reason, he is the most feared boxer in the world. He comes at you with either hand. It doesn't matter. Who wouldn't be afraid to fight him? Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company. Twice, he was heavyweight champion of the world. One of the best boxers of the decade. Afraid of no man. He'll fight anyone who wants to fight. That's why he'll fight Mike Tyson. That's why he's Evander Holyfield. Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company. Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. The two best fighters of the decade meet head-on. Michael Moorer battled Francois Botha and Henry Akinwande versus Alexander Zulkin. 3 heavyweight championships, plus female boxing sensation Christy Martin. Saturday, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Finally, you can see them all. Call your cable or satellite company. Twice, he was heavyweight champion of the world. One of the best boxers of the decade. Afraid of no man. He'll fight anyone who wants to fight. That's why he'll fight Mike Tyson. That's why he's Evander Holyfield. Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company. It's hard to imagine anyone who hits harder than Mike Tyson. For that reason, he is the most feared boxer in the world. He comes at you with either hand. It doesn't matter. Who wouldn't be afraid to fight him? Tyson versus Holyfield. Finally, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Call your cable or satellite company. Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. The two best fighters of the decade meet head-on. Michael Moorer battles Francois Botha, and Henry Akinwande versus Alexander Zolkin. 3 heavyweight championships, plus female boxing sensation Christy Martin. Saturday, November 9th, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand. Finally, you can see them all. Call your cable or satellite company.
Welcome back to Inside Tyson versus Holyfield. It was just 15 months ago that Mike Tyson began his boxing comeback. And now, 2 titles and 4 bouts later, he will be meeting one of the most respected, most admired fighters of our era, Evander Holyfield. It will happen, of course, in a fight card entitled Finally.
Finally, the 2 greatest fighters in the world are meeting each other. Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. Finally.
I'm a winner if the fight go 1 round. If it go 2 rounds, I'm a winner. 3 rounds. It don't make no difference what distance it go. When it's all over, I'm